Good day and welcome to Professional Skills 2, Lecture 9, and this class today is on providing feedback. So in this class we're going to look at the concept of feedback and why it's so important in life in general, but specifically in the workplace, and we have touched on feedback a few times already. You will often get feedback in the form of marked assessments. Think about how you might have used this information in the past. Did you use it to improve, or did you just get irritated with it and toss it to one side and never come back to it? Might give you a little bit of an idea about your views on feedback. So in this class we're going to cover a couple of different things. First of all, the value of feedback, positive versus negative feedback, and the best ways to give feedback. Please pause this video and complete the self-assessment score on page 112. When you're done, ask yourself questions such as, do these scores make sense to you? Do they back up what you already know? Or did you find them surprising? The skill concepts for today, again, surround communication. Because feedback is a kind of communication that we're going to get throughout our lives. It gives us information on the behaviors that we have or the work that we've produced, as well as the impact of our behavior and work on those around us. Obviously, we're really happy to get good feedback, and it's great to get good feedback, but it doesn't always help us to grow. Whereas we generally hate getting negative or bad feedback, but this is generally the kind of feedback that does help us to grow. Not in all cases, but sometimes it does help us to develop and grow. So just take a moment to think about why it's important to receive both good and bad feedback and what roles that they might play in our lives. So please watch the following video. You can find the URL in the PowerPoints on Call Campus. Please make an effort to always download these PowerPoints and go through them outside of these videos too, so that you've got both of those at your disposal. So reassess your answer from the previous slide. Why is it important to be open to both good and bad feedback? And how can you improve on the feedback that you give to others? Please take a moment to pause this video and write an answer. So as you can see, being able to both give and receive good and bad feedback is a really essential skill these days. It's one of the 21st century competencies. So it's really important that you hone these skills so that you're able to do them well in your private life and in the world of work. So I want you to think about two different situations. So think of a time that somebody gave you bad feedback in a good way. How did you receive it? And did you change your behavior? And then think of another time that somebody gave you bad feedback in a bad way. Again, how did you receive it and how did you change your behavior? So please pause this video and take a moment to write down your answers. Feedback is an incredibly valuable thing, and the main reason that we should be open to feedback is so that we can improve our performance. Because if we don't realize that we could be doing something better, there's no reason for us to change. Other reasons are that feedback can help you set goals, and goals motivate us towards success. Feedback can then indicate our progress towards these goals, so either we're moving in the right direction or you need to reevaluate, and feedback can help us decide which this is. And it also shows that others care about you and your performance, and that's why feedback in the workplace is such an important thing. So we're going to talk again, I mentioned this already, about positive versus negative feedback. So like I said, most people are really happy to receive and give positive feedback. It's a great feeling to have someone tell you you're doing good work, and it's also great to be able to tell someone that they're doing good work. But negative feedback is a little more tricky. And what I mean about negative feedback is just to help somebody see where they are making mistakes and put them on the right path. But you're going to need to deliver this news responsibly, whether it's positive or negative feedback. Because even with positive feedback, there might be some things that you're doing really, really well and other things that you can improve upon. Negative feedback, unfortunately, often met with resistance because people want to block out the bad things about themselves. But like I said in the beginning of this course, that's not what Prof Skills is about. Prof Skills is about finding out your weaknesses so that you can improve on them, because that's what life is all about. It's a journey. You're never at a destination. You're always wanting to improve and discover new things about yourself. So when you give negative feedback, you need to be aware that it's possible that you might be met with resistance. People might be unkeen to learn about themselves, to learn about their behavior. So this behavior is not as likely to be accepted. So you need to learn to modify your behavior just a little bit to make sure that you're giving negative feedback in the right circumstances, so that people are more likely to accept it. And here are the kind of situations that negative feedback is more likely to be accepted in. So first of all, when it comes from a credible source, if somebody that you respect gives you negative feedback, you are more likely to agree with it and agree to try and improve upon your behavior. And the next thing is that it's objective. So the opposite of objective is subjective. Subjective means it's based on the person's own opinions of you, their own viewpoints, whereas objective means it's based on facts and figures. So when you give somebody feedback, it helps to use figures and numbers and specific examples of where their behavior or where their work doesn't match up with the optimal form. Subjective negative feedback can be accepted when it comes from a respected source. Like I said above, somebody like a manager who's earned this respect over time, somebody that you have a lot of respect for. And negative feedback is most likely to be accepted when it comes from a respected person, and it's framed in a way that is constructive, building, and not breaking down. So I think constructive criticism these days is not something that we really understand, because constructive criticism is exactly that. It is criticism that builds people up. Now that sounds like a little bit of a difficult term to understand, but criticism isn't just, that was bad, because, okay, great, thank you so much, that's your opinion, moving on. What constructive criticism is telling a person exactly where they've made their mistakes, as well as how to improve upon these mistakes. So when you're giving constructive criticism, be sure that you have a solution for a problem that you're bringing up. Never ever just give a problem. You need to be solutions focused. So here are a couple of tips for providing feedback. First of all, focus on specific behaviors. So don't be general. Don't use statements that are hard to prove and are based solely on your opinion. Remember that you don't need to like everybody that we work with. In fact, you're probably not going to like a lot of people that you work with. But that doesn't really matter. As long as you can work with them and get along in the work environment, that's fine. They might have irritating behaviors, but you don't need to be their friend. You just need to work with them. Don't be vague and always give a solution. Like I said with constructive criticism, give a solution or help the person to figure out their own. And always give examples of the behavior and show that your attitude that you are willing to help the person. This is always important. If you bring something up, you are making that problem your problem too. So if you're not willing to help them with that behavior, with that work, with whatever it is, don't bring it up. Keep your feedback impersonal. So don't be judgmental. Don't be evaluative. Describe exactly what the problem is. In doing this, make sure that you are not emotional. So if you are emotional in the workplace, it happens to everyone. Go for a walk, go for a breath of fresh air, go get yourself a cup of tea or coffee, take a couple of deep breaths. Because being emotional in a situation at work, as we've discovered with emotional intelligence and self-awareness, it doesn't always help the situation. Yes, we all have emotions, and that's never going to go away, and I hope it doesn't as well. It's great that we all have emotions. But being angry or upset with someone in a very emotional way isn't always a constructive bit of behavior. It's not going to help the person. It's not going to help the situation. Always remember to keep your criticism job-related and not personal, because this is unprofessional. Don't use judgmental words, things like stupid or incompetent. People are never, ever going to change if they're being insulted. I mean, I'm sure we can all agree on that. And rather describe the behavior that you think makes them incompetent by using examples rather than using words such as those. Remain goal-orientated. So like I said, we are giving solutions. This is constructive criticism. Keep your eyes on the prize. So if you're giving feedback for no point, then why are you doing it? Stop and walk away. Feedback is aimed at correcting bad behaviors or habits and then positively reinforcing good ones too. So you should never use feedback just to offload or vent at someone. It needs to be a constructive, it needs to be goal orientated. So in this way, you always need to direct the feedback back at the person's goals. Frame it in a way that's going to make them want to grow and develop. What will they gain from making these changes? What do they stand to gain? What will their payoff be? I hope you're recognizing this language that I'm using. Time it correctly. So it's really important to time your feedback appropriately. If it's too short between what they've done and your feedback, they might still be emotional about it, you might still be emotional about it, and you're not going to be constructive in this situation. If it's too long, they are gonna have forgotten, you're gonna have forgotten. There's no point in doing it. And if you do it in the right time, you're going to make sure that they don't make the mistake again. But if you keep on making the same mistake and nobody says anything, you're just going to carry on doing it. Make sure that everybody understands. So we've spoken about this in communication already. Is your feedback concise and complete? Or is the person going to leave the conversation agreeing with you and then go, wait, what just happened there? You can follow it up by an email if you want to. But you need to make sure that you are being very aware of the person's body language, of any kind of nonverbal communication that they're putting out, and always make sure that they provide their own feedback so that you can gauge whether they understand or not. Only give feedback on behavior that's within someone's control. So if somebody doesn't have any control over it, they can't change this. The only catch is here is that sometimes people feel that they don't have control in certain situations, and this is very important for your assessments. People feel that they don't have control in certain situations, even though they do. So as a manager, it's really important that you empower people to take back control in the workplace. And I discussed this in your briefing. So just have a think about what things are within your behavior and what things are not. And a lot more things are actually in your control than what you think. The next thing is to tailor the feedback to fit the person. This is really important. Look back on your history with the person. Do you have a good relationship with them? What was their performance before? Has something changed? Could something have happened in their lives that have made them behave in this particular way? Because being sensitive to that will help you get to the bottom of the issue and might help you solve it as well. Do they have potential in the future, and can you help invest in this to empower them? And any kind of high performer might need feedback so that they can perform better in the future. And if you're a high performer, you will appreciate this kind of feedback. So please pause the video and do the concept quiz on page 115 and play again once you're done. So the behavioral checklist here is that when you're providing feedback, you need to make sure that you support negative feedback with hard data, numbers, figures. Focus on specific rather than broad behaviors. Keep comments job-related rather than personal. Ensure mutual understanding. Direct feedback towards behaviors that are controllable and empower people to understand what is within their control. And adjust the frequency, amount, and content of feedback according to each individual. Next is an activity. Go to page 116 of your textbook and complete the modeling exercise there. Please email your lecturer a short answer. Short answer. Before you send the email, however, and this is really important, please go to the rating sheet on page 118 to ensure that you have completed this exercise correctly. Read through, proofread, make sure it's great, and then send. Then please read through the summary checklist on page 123 and check where applicable. Complete the application questions and read through the reinforcement exercises and see if they come up in your own personal lives in the near future. The next lesson, we're going to talk about communicating across cultures. I want you to think about your experience at BMH. How many groups of people do you come across daily? And of these groups of people, how are they similar to you and how are they different? I just want to take a moment to remind you to please make sure that you're visiting Core Campus regularly, that you're engaging on the discussion boards, that you're watching these videos and downloading any extra collateral that might be posted there. If you have any questions, please always get in touch with one of your lecturers. The details are up on Core Campus. Send us an email or an email and we'll do our best to reply as quickly as possible. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.